very excited about that. That makes me really happy. Absolutely love Ali Hazelwood, if you guys don't know that. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brooklyn, and for today's video I wanted to film a September reading wrap up, and I also wanted to do my October TBR, or like an October hopeful TBR. But before that, let's chat about the 8 books that I read in the month of September. Back with my iPad again. I have book specs for you guys like always. So for genres this month, I'm very consistent. I read romance, fantasy, a mystery thriller, self-help, and a historical fiction, or like fantasy fiction. Total pages I read this month was 2,974, and the average page count was 371 pages. And then my average rating was 4.18 stars. Very good month in my opinion. I really enjoyed reading all these books. The first book that I finished for the month of September is Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. So I ended up rating this book 4 stars. I absolutely love Ali Hazelwood. If you guys don't know that, now you do. She's one of my favorite writers ever. Deep End is my favorite book from her, and that book has me in its grasp. Truly, like, it has not let me go since I finished reading it in the spring, and I'm still thinking about it 24/7. It is my Roman Empire, honestly. I know 4 stars is still a high rating. I just did not get the same feeling or vibes that I get when reading her stories, and I don't know if it was just the characters and their connection and me not really connecting to that. There was just something missing in this one. I think the story and the plot line and the romance was very up and down. I think that's where I got a little annoyed with it, because one second everything's going really good, and then the next it kind of stopped. And then even at the very end, when we thought we were in the clear, there was still like a moment of like, well, are we actually doing this? And it's like, no, we have 2 pages left. Like, you are doing this. Please, like, let's not do that right now. I wish there was more tension and drama in the story. This follows Maya Kilgore and Connor Harkness, and Connor is, okay, let me get this right. So Maya's brother is Eli, and that was the first book of Not in Love. Maya's related to Eli, and then Connor's best friends with Eli. So that's where it's like the weird part of it, but there's also an age gap between the 2 of these in this book. I don't want to like say anything that spoils it, but there just wasn't enough drama, I think, in the circle of friends and the relationships, how everyone's connected for Connor and Maya. And there wasn't a lot of sneaking or like tension, I don't know. And I think it was mainly because Connor was just so set in his ways and mindset of like doing the right thing, which is amazing. Go for that. But also, like, where's the mess? I finished this at the beginning of September, so it was like the perfect end of summer book for me, and I really enjoyed it. I would still recommend it if you love Ali Hazelwood's writing. One thing about that one too, she does have cameos from people in other books that she's written about. Obviously Eli and Rue were the main ones for this because it was their wedding, but we do have some people also mentioned in this book, and I was so giddy. The next book I read was on my Kindle, and that was Babel by R.F. Kuang. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. I did not connect with this book as much as I thought I would. I don't think I was actually going into it expecting a massive connection. I think it was more just my expectations, because I've heard so many amazing things about Babel and the author R.F. Kuang. I know she has a lot of amazing books like The Poppy War, Yellowface I think it's called, and there's like one other one that people really love. I pulled this one for my challenge that I'm doing over on my TikTok, where I pull a book for my 2025 challenge that's in my book journal, but pulled that one for this, and I was nervous for it going into it, and I think I was a little intimidated when I first started it, so that's where the disconnect also started. With that being said, I went into it and I didn't have like a clear understanding of where we were heading in the story. While reading it, I just kind of got bored, and I know I'm very much a romance reader, fantasy, and this is more fiction. Probably one of my first historical fictions or fantasy fictions, so I'm not saying it was a bad book. I just don't think I enjoyed it in the time. Maybe in the future I would, but I just found myself kind of not paying attention because I would listen to the audiobook. The audiobook was really good though, and I liked how they did the narration and the voice acting for it. I understand the overall message of this story and how impactful it is, especially in this time, and the characters that are involved within it. I did like seeing how the characters started to learn and develop their own opinions and ideologies of what was happening in the world that they were living in, but I just don't think I connected to it personally. And there was like peaks of really exciting moments, and then they kind of like flatten out, and then at the very end it really picked up, and then it also died out, and I was kind of upset about that, because if it kept that momentum, I think I would have really enjoyed the book more, because it would have made some like big grand ending. But also I realized that this book is more realistic to how things happen and end, so maybe I just felt a little dissatisfied as a reader. I would definitely say if you think you'd like this style of book or like genre, definitely read it. Even if you might not, I think you still should read it. It's a good book. It has a good message, but just don't go into it scared. And I think that's what my issue was too, because I kind of put it on a pedestal and I made myself feel like I was like, oh, I'm not smart enough to read this. Like, I'm gonna be so confused. Like, no, it's fine. It's just language and college, and kind of like some political aspects of stuff. It's a good book, but you have to be in the right mindset for it, I think, and I just don't think I was. So the next book that I read is The X-Files by Jessica Joyce. I ended up giving this book 4.75 stars. I just didn't get that 5-star feeling from it. I feel like it could be a 5-star, just a very solid one, but I didn't get that feeling where I'm giggling and like thinking about it often. I did love the story. I thought it was very fast paced, which I really liked. The plot was really interesting, and she did it in a way where she gave us enough background information of the characters and their situation, because this is a second chance romance and it follows Georgia and Eli, and they had a messy breakup, but the way that Jessica Joyce is able to kind of leave hints throughout the story as we're reading about why it was so messy and how it affected them so badly, I think was a really smooth way to transition from like a then and now timeline. It didn't take away from the plot in the wedding that we were focusing on, because the wedding part of it was just a big disaster and Eli and Georgia were trying to save it, but while they were doing it, they were also solving their relationship issues. I really like how she wrote this story and the way it flowed, and it was really great. I did mention it felt a little like Ali Hazelwood's writing because of how funny the characters are. Ali Hazelwood always has very funny, quirky FMC characters, and Georgia was definitely one of those characters in this book, and even Eli and their friend Adam, they were all just such a fun group of people, and this would be a book that I could almost see myself living in and wanting to be a part of this world and this group of people because they were just so real. I also really connected with Eli and Georgia. I think the way that they view the world, especially Georgia and her list aspects and just trying to organize everything and see stuff clearly, is so me. And even Eli too, there were some parts that I was just like, you know what? I agree with you. Another aspect of the story that I really liked are the themes that she threw in here. There's themes of friendship and even just like workplace or work situation maybe, or like issues that could arise, where obviously as we get older and you have this group of friends, especially in college, once we're out of college, that group might go different directions, and I think that can be really hard and shocking for people trying to navigate that and maintain those relationships that you had because you want to see these people every day and you might not be able to. So the message of no matter where you go, the people that you love will always be around you, and like it's not the place, it's the people. Even the theme of personal growth and just taking the risk regardless of what the outcome could be, because at some point you have to be selfish with your life and the decisions you make, and you just kind of have to hope that the people you love will support you in those decisions and will be there for you to guide you if you need help or vice versa. The messages in this story were really sweet, and overall it was just a really nice book. I could see myself rereading this or definitely recommending this to people. The next book that I read in the month of September is Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. I really like this book. I feel like I was in a bit of a slump going from this book to this one. I did end up rating this one 5 stars. This one definitely felt like a 5-star, and it gave me that giddy feeling. I definitely go off of vibes when I'm reading books and ratings, because majority of my ratings are somewhere between like 4 to 5, maybe like 3.75 to 5. I forgot how easy Sarah Adams' writing is just to follow, and the plot and the way she writes is just so quick and fast paced, but it's also witty. There's banter and the characters are not insufferable, at least in my opinion. I really enjoyed living in this world. I love the small town aspect of this. It's just a really cute book, and it's a great almost palate cleansing book if you want something that's not super messy or dramatic, where there's a pretty obvious flow of where things are going to end up. Annie and Will are our 2 main characters in this book, and I love them so much. I think they brought the best parts of each other out when they were with the other. I also really liked how there wasn't really a third act breakup. And that's the thing too. These men in these books are always so sure and stable and steady and just know what they want. And for the FMCs in this book, it's like the perfect balance. So the story follows Will and Annie. Will is Amelia's bodyguard from the first book, which is When in Rome, and Annie is the sister of, I always remember one of their names and then I forget the other, but she is the sister to him in the first book. Annie needs some help dating, and the whole theme or trope of this book is that Will is going to help her date. He's going to be like her dating coach. So it's a little bit of fake dating, and it's really fun to see them practice, I guess. And obviously like practice makes perfect, but it's really fun to see them do things and have Will help Annie break out of her shell, and you can see Annie develop really as a character. And that's what I also really like too. The development of characters in this book was so good. For Will and Annie, they grew so much, and there were so many lessons that I feel like even readers could take from these characters, because they're so real and honest, and these are issues and feelings that people may honestly be feeling. Another thing I felt was that this book was very tasteful in the sense of the romance side of things, because I think Sarah Adams does a little bit like like closed door or fade to black. It's not all about the physical attraction. I mean, Will does see her and fall for her like right away, but I think it's also because he's been around the family and has just been observing too. So I think that's where his initial attraction comes from. But it's the way that they learn more about each other through conversation, emotional connection rather than just the physical. And then when the physical does happen, it's better because there's more to it and there's more just like of attention and connection between the two characters. Her books always fade to black, and I feel like that was very refreshing because I feel like nowadays sometimes authors just really want to just have a lot of spice in their books, which is completely fine because I have books on my bookshelf that are from one end to the next. This was just really refreshing reading this and being like, you know what? That was sweet. I did say that Will was the definition of if he wanted to, he would. It's also really relatable for the girlies who love reading. So if you like reading and you want like a man in a book who also supports the FMC who reads, this would be a fun one too. The next book I read was The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. I ended up rating this book 4.5 stars. I really like this book. I've heard many things about this book and they're making a movie about it, which I'm also very excited for. I did film part of a video for this book, so you'll be seeing it in the near future when the movie comes out because I want to do my like who did it better book versus movie for this one. I read this thing in like a day. I did guess the ending or like part of it around page 138 and I'm very proud of myself that I did that. This is actually the second Frida McFadden book that I have read. The first one I listened to, which was Never Lie, and I did not really like that one. Maybe it was because it was through the audio and I maybe would enjoy more reading because I feel like with thriller and reading, turning the page and like the suspense of what's building is more interesting than actually listening to it. I did not like the first book from her that I read, Never Lie, but this one really turned my thoughts around about her writing. I am very excited to read other books from her and to see this movie and how it translates over. I don't really have that much else to say on this. I think it was written really well and the plot was executed in a way that was really fun. The next book was another self-help book that I read this month. This one's kind of random, but it's Money and the Law of Attraction by Esther and Jerry Hicks. I read 10 pages a day of like a self-help book. I really enjoyed the first part of this. This really just focuses on the law of attraction. The main message that I got from this is the power of speaking things into existence and how you think or believe or see yourself is kind of what you're going to get back from the world. So what you put out is what you get back in. I think this could be a good baseline to try and understand just your connection to the world and how in some way that we're all connected and made from everything that we interact with. I did enjoy this book. I feel like it helped me in some parts while I was reading it. I was journaling after I would read it and kind of follow the ways that they were saying to do things or like how to write or like how to speak a certain way, and I feel like that did help me. I feel like I was seeing a lot of growth in my life personally and just I felt really good. I didn't rate this book either. I don't know what I would rate this. I think it is interesting. If you guys want to learn about this stuff, go for it, but it was just kind of a random book this month. The next book that I read this month is The Final Gambit by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the third book in the Inheritance Games series. Technically it's a trilogy, but I know there's the Brothers Hawthorne and I'm counting this as like the third book and the fourth one's the last one for it, but this was like the final one for the trilogy. I don't know if that made any sense. I ended up rating this book 3.75 stars. I love the second book, which is The Hawthorne Legacy. I don't know what was in that book, but that one I absolutely loved. There was a little bit of time between me reading that and reading this, so I was a little lost and confused of what was happening in this, but I am happy I finished it. I don't know, I was looking at Goodreads reviews and I feel like I'm in the minority here when I say I didn't really enjoy this book. I feel like the first two were much more exciting. We got answers to a very big question that we've been asking throughout the whole series. We finally got it in this one. I just don't think that the riddle or mystery that was presented in this book was that interesting or high stakes. I felt that there was little movement in the setting, but obviously that's because Avery, if you not know this, Avery inherited a fortune, and in order for her to inherit all the money, she had to stay in the Hawthorne mansion for a year or until she turned 18. She can obviously leave, but there's like certain time restraints that she can be out of the house for, and then she has to be back, and if she's not, then she loses out on all of it. So in this one, she definitely stayed home, and I did not really like that because we definitely already discovered all of the rooms, the hidden tunnels and stuff in the first two books, and this one it was just very there, you know? I will always love the little riddles and mysteries though in this book. I feel like we're solving them with Avery or whoever else is helping her do this stuff, so that part is definitely fun. I just think the ending and the characters, like the issues in this was not as interesting or powerful as the other two. And don't even get me started on the love triangle of this series. I was flipping back through the second book just to try and refresh my brain, and I love Jameson and I love Grayson, but Grayson is my man. I have said this in countless videos. Grayson is like Conrad from The Summer I Turned Pretty, and Jameson is like Jeremiah. For some reason, whenever I read Jameson in this book, I picture Jeremiah. Not fair at all to him, because Jameson is actually really nice and treats Avery really well. I just love Grayson. I will say I am disappointed with how Jennifer Lynn Barnes finished writing Grayson's character and the way that she had his storyline go. I feel like she ruined his character purposefully. The Grayson in this book, it was more at the end he kind of came back to life, but in the beginning it's just like that wasn't our Grayson that I loved and knew. So I was upset about that, but he's just down bad. He truly is down bad for Avery. I love that man. One thing too that I did not like about how this book ended was Avery's decision at the end of the story, and if you've read this you know what I'm talking about, but what she's doing is stupid and she needs to not do what she's doing. The final book that I read for the month of September. I read this, I finished it the 30th, so this one is a late contender, but we finished it just in time. This is Nightbane by Alex Astor. This is the second book. I rated this book 4.25 stars. You guys, I love Grimm. Let's just put that all out there. I love Grimm. I remember I rated Light Lark 5 stars, and I took some time between reading that book to this one, so once again, I was confused. I flipped through Light Lark just to get some ideas about what happened at the end of like the last 50 pages of her book, and I was giggling reading Light Lark. I was going into this very excited to have that same feeling, or at least assume that I would get that same feeling, and I didn't. And that kind of like turned me off from wanting to read the book because it just didn't feel like the same. But I think that's the issue with a lot of books in series. Like the second books are always harder to follow along, maybe, in my opinion, because if the first book was really good, then you expect that to carry on, but there's issues, especially in Light Lark, because it was like a romantasy in some aspects, or like the romance was like a subplot of it. Something happens to now where the romance in this one isn't the same in the first one. Obviously they're gonna be different, it's just like mentally I have to wrap my head around that. This book has a then and now timeline, or like a present timeline and then a before. That's what the chapters are called, and they follow two characters in this book, and I love those chapters. I was so excited whenever those chapters came up, and the way that Alex Astor wrote this book, it was so genius in my opinion, because we were learning information that we didn't have from the first book in this one about the characters, and then we were still moving forward in the timeline, present day as well. While we're gaining more information, we're still moving forward in the story. Everything's getting kind of heightened. The stakes are higher. The last I would say 150 pages, maybe to 50 pages of her books are insane. At one point, everything lined up to where it was just like, this is insane right now, and we're back, baby. Like, that was my thought and opinion when I read certain pages. I was like, this is what I've been searching for. Everything was starting to make sense and connect and piece together, which I love. I think this one was more heavy on the politics as well, and just giving us more background information of Light Lark and how the island came to be and the politics about it and how other people in the realms feel. And going along with the like present day chapters and the before chapters, everything lined up to then have it transition into Light Lark, because it was like, well, you know the story. But the way that it looped and circled back to the first book, which was Light Lark, was so cool to me, and that just made me so excited, and then everything just started happening. I do mention some spoiler thoughts in the reading vlog that this one will be in. I think it comes out after this video. Insane. I could not stop thinking of this book. I read it late at night, and I was just kind of like meandering around the house trying to find people to talk to about this book, but it's just the things that these characters say got me, and it was so good. So one thing I did not really like with this one as well is I think Isla as a character, she was stronger and more fierce in the first book, obviously, because she was raised and taught by her teachers or whatever to fight and hold her own without using power. In this one, I feel like we didn't see that fiery side of her until the very end, or like I guess in the before chapters, because that's when that was the Isla we knew in the first book. But Isla just wasn't herself, and I think she was also trying to navigate and figure that out too, so we'll give her some grace about that. But I just don't feel like it was her in this one, so I'm hoping in the next book she kind of shows up more as herself in that one, and like that fire very like I can handle myself, or I can do this on my own type of thing. Speaking of the third book, I need to read it right now, but I have all my copies of these books in paperback, and Skyshade was released in hardcover. So I think it's like October 28th is when the third one comes out in paperback, so that is when I will be buying it and reading it. So be on the lookout for a reading vlog or something. And I know there's gonna be one more after that, but I need to carry this energy and emotion over to that one. Really good book. I would definitely recommend the series. It's a fun fantasy, a little bit of romance on the side, but the politics are also really interesting. They're good like intro fantasies, I think, in my opinion. So the next part of this video, I want to talk about my hopeful October TBR. I'm definitely one who does not like to pick a TBR. I think I'm very set in my ways of mood reading and just kind of picking off the shelf whatever piques my interest at that time. So how I want to do this month's TBR is just kind of showing you guys the books that I have on my radar to film for videos, and then just some other ones that I want to get around to because they fit the season and like the fall aesthetic. So a lot of these are all physical and off of my TBR, but I know there are probably some on Kindle that I could read, but I really just want to try and focus on knocking all of these off and reading them because I've had these for quite some time now. But I've split them up into 5 different categories, and I thought it would be fun to go over these, just chat about them, why I bought them, why I want to read them, or if you guys have read them, let me know what your guys' thoughts and opinions were on them as well. So I want to start talking about, I guess, like the horror, maybe mystery thriller books in this genre. So the first two I'm like pairing together because I bought these at Meijer. It's a grocery store in the Midwest. When I was at Michigan State for college, I would always shop at Meijer. This is kind of when I started getting interest in reading books, but I never actually read them. I just like bought them. These were 2 books that I bought because if you can see the stickers on them, $5 or I guess $6 for a book. I was like, steal, let me get those. Please See Us by Caitlin Mullen. So this one follows a woman who gets like these visions. She gets disturbing images of something that could be related to a missing person case or like a murder case that's going on in the city that they're in. I think it's something where they want to obviously try and figure out if the visions are correct and if they could help solve the mystery that way. The next one is The Tenant by Katrine Enberg. So it has like a little blurb. It says, 2 police detectives struggling to solve a shocking murder and stop a killer hellbent on revenge. So it takes place in Copenhagen, and some woman finds someone like horribly murdered in her apartment. That's really all I know. And this is the thing, I like going into books blind. So like a lot of these on the shelf, I don't know what they're about, but I have like a general idea. So that's why I picked this one up. And the front also looks kind of eerie. So this is We Are All the Same in the Dark by Julia Heberlin, if I'm saying that right. But this one, it just says it's been a decade since this person's disappeared, leaving only a bloody handprint behind. Someone's body's found. Oh, there's 2 cases. So it's like a lot of stuff going on. I just feel like I haven't seen much talk about this maybe anywhere, or I'm just behind, or this is like some... On the top here it says, she knows how to build a truly shocking twist, how to break a reader's heart and then begin mending it. All right, so if you've read this, let me know. I'm very curious to see if other people have read it and what they think about it. The Devil in the White City. It says murder, magic, and madness at the fair that changed America. I think my dad said he's read this or has the book because I saw it in his office the other day. I'm like... twins, like I have that book too. But it takes place in Chicago in 1893. Ooh, okay. The true tale of 2 men, the brilliant architecture behind the legendary 1893 World's Fair, striving to secure America's place in the world, and the cunning serial killers who use the fair to lure victims to their death. That's actually really interesting. I am very curious now about this book, especially because it's based on true stories, but it seems like it would be insane, especially in like the time period of it. This one I have considered. I think I started reading at some point. Yeah, I did. Where's this bookmark at? I made it to page 41, and I know this book is based off of, oh yeah, it's adapted into the 1986 classic film Stand By Me. It says the body is an iconic exploration of friendship, adventure, and unforgettable coming of age story. This would be my second Stephen King book. I read The Outsider and I kind of enjoyed it, not really. That's why I'm more interested in this, because it is a little shorter book. I've had this one on my shelf for a while and I would like to check it out. Okay, moving on to this little series. I have so many series that I'm in the middle of, but I do want to try and check some of them off. I've had these books for the longest time, and part of me doesn't want to like unhaul these books because they're like sentimental to me. So it's the Giver series. I read this book in the 7th grade in middle school, so I know like they're very like younger audiences, but I love the movie growing up, and I remember reading the book in class and then just seeing the movie and how it like matched so well. I was like, wait, this is amazing. So I forced my dad to buy me every book in the series. I never read them since middle school. I never never read them. Part of me feels really bad because I know these are good books, but I've never gotten around to reading them. I think these would be quick reads. I can't remember if the other books answered what happened at the end of The Giver, because The Giver ended very open-ended, kind of for the reader to decide how it ended, which I hated that when I was younger. So I think I was hoping to get some answers in these ones, but this is very random. But I've had these on my shelves and I would love to read these. Another trilogy that I want to start and hope to finish this month. This is one I want to do for a video of who did it better. This is the Divergent series. If you are aware, this is a very popular series. I feel like everyone knows this. I've, once again, had these books on my shelf for the longest time possible, and I've yet to read them, and they've just been sitting here. I have always loved watching Divergent, and I've read Hunger Games, I've watched Hunger Games, so I was like, why have I not yet read the Divergent trilogy? So this is my time to do it. For romance, I have a couple on here. Some of these are in theme of the fall season and summer, just kind of like palette cleansers, random ones that I have on my shelf. First one being Night Shift by Annie Crown. The one thing that now scares me about this book is this being in the corner of it. Listen, I have nothing against Wattpad. I loved reading Wattpad when I was younger, but sometimes these books can be so just not good. Yeah, I've had this one on my shelf because I saw a TikTok and I was like, you know what, I need that book, and then I bought it and I never read it. The next one is Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter. I loved Better Than the Movies, which was like the first book for this. Definitely want to read this. I haven't read a Lynn Painter book since that one, and that was like 2 years ago. I want to continue their story. I love their story. It's such a cute romance and it's YA and it's just fun. I think they're also in college in this book, so I guess it kind of fits to the fall themes. The next one would be Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. I've seen so many great things about this book and series or trilogy, whatever, however many books are in this one, but I've seen so many great things about this book and I feel like I'm so behind to reading it. I always try and wait for like the spooky season to happen and then I just never get around to it. Hopefully this year is the year. I definitely want to put this one up on like a more immediate ranking of all these books to read. I know it's serial killers, but then they like fall in love and it's just like fun and it's funny. The next one is One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. I've heard that this is like a vampire in modern times, but also like a Romeo and Juliet, I think. I'm just kind of throwing out what I think these are or heard from them. I've heard her writing is also really good. I remember, I think, watching a YouTube video or seeing a TikTok where someone was raving about this book and I was like, wait, I want it. And then I bought it and I never read it. It's been on my shelf for like 2 years. Oh, she wrote the Atlas 6 and then Alone with You in the Ether. So I know her writing's good because I've heard a lot of great things about those. And then finally, this was kind of like a random one, but I've had this one on my shelf for the longest time. It's Betting on You by Lynn Painter. I always look at this one when I look at my bookshelf and I'm like, do I want to read that right now? I think they go to work or something and they start making bets, or they have these like chance encounters with each other consistently, and then at some point they become friends and then they start making bets or something like that. And then I remember seeing something on TikTok where it was like one of those jaw-dropping moments where he said something and then she heard it, but it wasn't the truth, he was just lying. Anyways, it was just one of those moments and I think it happens in this book, so that makes me really excited to read this one. And the final two that we have on this TBR. The first one is How Does It Feel by Janine O'Reilly, if I'm saying her name right. I saw this book on TikTok. It was super popular last fall, I believe. They changed the freaking covers, you guys. And I know there's a second one of this book. I don't know if there's any other. This is the Infatuated Fae series, so there's probably gonna be more books, but I'm so sad because his cover is so cool. If I can find the new cover, I'm gonna put it on the screen because, like, come on. She's the human, he's the fae. She stumbles along into his world and then he like takes her or something because he thinks that she is like a parasite or trying to kill him, but that's not the case, and I think they end up like falling for each other. Who knows? That's the kind of vibe I'm getting, but this screams October. And then the big one. This is one of the big ones on here. Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I pulled this book for my 25 for 2025 challenge. I'm currently trying to finish another book before I finish this one because I want to make a reading vlog about this. So this one will for sure be read in October. I'm very excited to read this and to get into this series. I've heard so many amazing things about this and people wishing that they could reread it for the first time. Very excited about that. That makes me really happy. I'm hoping it lives up to the hype. So that is the final book on my October hopeful TBR. I say hopeful because obviously all these books are just gonna go right back up and I'll just pull whatever I'm in the mood for, but these are ones I specifically want to try and reach for. I also want to film videos where I have things pick my books for me, so I'm not gonna have a say in it, but hopefully these are the ones that get pulled for or I make videos around these books. So that's just kind of like how my brain's working right now, my thoughts and opinions on that. If you guys are excited, be on the lookout for these. Thinking back to September, I'm also very proud of the 8 books that I read that month. I think September was actually like a really solid reading month, and I had a lot of fun books on there and books that I've been meaning to get off my TBR, so I'm really happy about that. I hope we can go into October with the same energy and just keep finding great books and finishing series and all that. So if you guys have read any of these books that I've mentioned in this video, let me know what your thoughts and opinions are on them. I'm so curious to hear them. And that is it for me. So I will see you guys all in the next video.